And what happened on her first day of training, she never could have imagined.
I get to Switzerland and oh my God, it's day one. First of all, the camp is 20 miles up this massive mountain that's like a wall and with switchbacks. And I get a knock on the door in the morning. He's like, "We're going swimming. The pool's, down at the bottom of the mountain." I thought, okay, cool. I ride my bike downhill. That's easy. Get down there and I swam double the longest swim I'd ever done in my life, and the whole entire swim was so hard. I could barely breathe. I felt like I was drowning. By the end, I could barely turn my arms over. We finish the swim and we get out and we've got our bikes and I look over at my friend and I'm like, "Hey, where's Brett? Where's the van? How are we going to get home?" And she laughed at me and she said, "Are you kidding? You ride home." And I'm thinking, ride home? I don't even know if I can stay seated on my bike, like up that steep a hill. And so I made my way up that hill, and it was the most brutal 2 hours of climbing to go 20 miles. My legs are just blowing up, just feeling like they're exploding. Get to my room. I'm about to start making my lunch, knock on the door again, and it's Brett. "We're going running. Be upstairs 5 minutes." And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, I've trained, 4 hours already today, and I'm dying. And I got home that night and I was in floods of tears. I could barely walk. I was dehydrated. I called home. And I'll never forget, my mom was saying, "Hey, Siri, don't be afraid. You passed the test. It was a test." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay." Well, it wasn't just a test, because the next day it was the same exact thing. The day after that, same exact number of hours, the brutality of it. It was just agonizing. I cried every single day in the swimming pool. I'd have tears filling up my goggles. I didn't know how I was going to survive this. It was physically just agonizing. But the brilliant part of this is week after week after week. And I'll never forget, one day I showed up at practice and I could barely walk. And I said to him, I was afraid to go up to him, but I found the courage and I said, "Brett, I can't do what you're asking me to do today. I can't move." And he looked at me and he kind of looked at the door as if to say, "Well, you can either leave or find a way." And I knew in that moment that there was no getting out. There was no turning back. It was finding a way, finding whatever I had inside of me and pulling that out and doing the best that I could to get it done. And it was brilliant because, think about it. How can we ever know what we're truly capable of if we're not trying to do what we don't think we can every single day? And that means being afraid and doing it anyway. Yes, you're going to be afraid of failing. You're going to be afraid of not being able to do it. You're going to be afraid of being rejected or whatever it is, but you've got to try. You've got to do it anyway. And what kept me going was that why, that this was for me. This wasn't for anyone else. This was for me, that if I could prove that I had the toughness and the courage and the ability to grind through and accomplish everything that he was asking me to do, I truly felt that I would find that love and that respect for myself, that appreciation that I'd been so desperate for a lifetime.
Siri went on to win 13 World Cup races, the World Cup Series in both 2001 and 2002, and she was inducted into the Triathlon Hall of Fame. In the end, she realized that what she thought she was afraid of all along, every single fear she overcame throughout her training, those were just symptoms of a much bigger fear.
My biggest fear all along has been accepting me. And when I finally decided to do that, my whole life changed. I found love, I found success, I found everything. It's kind of like the gift of choosing to be fearlessly, authentically you.
For many people, making the choice to be fearlessly, authentically you is clear. They're facing a major obstacle or what appears to be an impossible goal, like Siri. For others, it's a matter of discipline, training your mind to overcome fear in the way that Tony described, by choosing to focus on what they can control. But for many people, fear isn't so obvious. You're about to hear again from Sonny McCandless, who you most likely know from the documentary Free Solo. But Sonny is not just a rock climber's girlfriend. She's an accomplished life coach who helps people make transitions in their career and their lifestyle. Listen as she explains her approach to helping people navigate through their fears, big and small, and how she herself dealt with the terrifying prospect of losing the man she loves.
I think oftentimes what happens when somebody has a deep internal struggle going on is that they don't even really realize that that's the problem. For instance, I have a client who is she felt really frustrated in her workplace. And she felt frustrated in her workplace because she wasn't really drawing any boundaries. When somebody asked for something, she did it. When somebody blamed her for something that maybe wasn't even her fault, she said, "I'm so sorry." When somebody piled something on her plate that was just going to be too much and cause her to be overworked, she just took that on. And when we kind of began to dig deeper into why that was happening, there was this thought deep inside her that, if I draw boundaries, I'll be seen as difficult to work with and I won't get any opportunities. And this belief that if she acted a little bit more authentically, or if she spoke up about how she was feeling, or was actually said out loud what she was thinking, that she might not be liked, or she might not be deemed of worthy to be, might not be deemed worthy of being in that workplace. And so that fear, if I show up exactly as I am, I'll come up short, was influencing all of her actions in the workplace. It was making her career feel completely unmanageable. And so the questions that we ask are honestly just peeling back each layer of internal doubt. But why were you afraid to speak up in that moment? Oh, but why, just kind of continual asking, but where is that coming from? But where is that coming from? Until you get to the root thought, which was this, I don't feel worthy. Right. And so I think that process, it looks slightly different with every client, but it's just continually digging deep until you kind of get to the root issue. Because until you get to the root issue, things tend to not change. So my process when somebody's had that breakthrough moment and they're like, oh my gosh, this is what's getting in the way the whole time, some sort of internal doubt or internal fear. In my world, I call it like a gremlin. Like you've kind of uncovered your gremlin and you realize that most of the change that you need to happen is actually internal and all about you and not about anyone else or any of the people you may have been blaming for, X number of years. Once you've had that moment, obviously the first question is, well, what do I do about it? I can't just snap my fingers and say, I do feel worthy, of my workplace, or I don't have imposter syndrome, or, it doesn't happen like that. So